Hey guys, so this video is kind of an update video on my car as well as a couple things going on, but the actual primary purpose of this video is there's kind of a sticky situation going on right now with insurance, and I'm looking to see if anyone out there is able to provide any sort of insight or advice on how I should go forward with this, how I should deal with this in the best way possible so that hopefully I come out without losing that much or any money at all. So it does involve my car and getting it back from insurance because, as everyone knows, I was rear-ended over a month ago now, and I've been having problems with insurance here and there to really get the situation solved so that way my car can be repaired and I can get it back. And there's been a situation that recently arose where if the worst possible case scenario happens, I might have to fork over quite a bit of money. And the shitty part about that is the fact that the accident, well, basically no part of anything happening was my fault. So the accident was not my fault. It was entirely that guy's fault. His insurance, Geico, claimed responsibility, and as a result, they should be footing the bill for my repairs, which they are. As well as because they're at fault and not me, they are responsible for paying for my rental car because I don't have a car now. My car is stuck at the shop because it's currently torn apart, busted open, and needing a lot of repairs. And then on top of that, when we were waiting for, so basically Geico sent an original check for $10,000. That was their original estimate, which was insanely low. But that's just kind of how things were based on what they, when they looked at the pictures. They even admitted there's gonna be more, but this is just our initial estimate. So they sent the check for 10K, then they apparently sent it to the wrong address and canceled the check, and then forgot to resend it to the correct address. So basically we were waiting for about a month for this check that was never actually sent. That's a month of my car just sitting there, me not being able to drive this car that I really enjoy, that I miss and love a lot, and a month of me driving the rental car. And then they finally issued it, so basically the first and second check have arrived. There is a third check that there's kind of an issue going on where they're trying to see if it goes over the limit or not, but that's not really applicable to this situation. So here's where the problem comes into play. Because of a giveaway that I'm doing on my Instagram account, I'm not gonna say the actual numbers for a few things here, but I will be telling you guys the actual amount of money that I might be losing in the case that this goes poorly or that I'm not able to figure out exactly what to do. So let's say that currently the repairs are estimated at $28,000. That's with the initial estimate from Geico, and then that's with the 2 supplemental estimates from the auto body shop. After they took the car apart, they looked at it and said, hey, this is gonna cost $28,000 to repair, and Geico has approved all 3 amounts, well, both the supplemental amounts. So they've approved up to the $28,000. But then Geico has a limit based on the guy's coverage for $30,000. So basically stating that they won't pay above $30,000 and that anything above $30,000 will be covered by my insurance, which that's how things work, and that's totally fine, that's totally understandable. That's also totally fine because, as I stated, the repairs are currently at $28,000 instead of $30,000, which is less than the limit. So basically there shouldn't be an issue, right? Well, for one, it's causing a slight delay because Geico is not willing to issue the last check until they're certain, I don't know what that means exactly, but they're certain that the repairs won't go above 30K, because apparently if they do go above 30K, they're going to be complete assholes about issuing this last check. We already have the first 2. But the second issue, well, sorry, and then also a part of that is that means it's longer that I have the rental car. Keep that in mind. The second thing is that the $28,000 for the repairs does not include my rental, which means that with my rental, I'm likely going to be going over the $30,000 limit because I've had the rental car for, let's see, I think I got the rental on April, so I was hit April 23rd, I believe. I was hit April 23rd, and so it's been a month and a half since that I've had the rental, because I got the rental I think 2 days later, a day or 2 later. than that. So it's been basically a month and a half that I've had this rental, which that's a long time to have a rental. That adds up really quickly, but that should be covered by Geico. Except that that amount will likely put the total repair cost above $30K. And so I know nothing about the rate. I was not told how much this rental is costing per day. It's a Nissan Sentra, base model, no bells and whistles or anything like that. It's through Enterprise, and they have an account directly with Geico. So basically I'm not paying anything for this rental. I have a credit card on file, but that's purely for if I get into an accident, then I am responsible or my insurance is responsible. That's understandable, but the actual charges will be automatically redirected to Geico, I believe. I'm not entirely sure how that's gonna work. But that likely, I mean, a month and a half of a rental from Enterprise is likely going to put me above or close to the limit of $30,000 if the repairs are somewhere between like 28 and 28.5, let's say. I don't know the exact number, but I, on my personal coverage, don't have rental coverage. I just didn't think that was something that was necessary, and I've had car insurance for 7 years, 8 years now, and I've never needed rental coverage or anything like that. Plus, I'm looking to get a second car relatively soon, and so then I definitely wouldn't need the rental coverage. So I'm basically kind of screwed, because on one hand, if I have to turn in the rental and then it turns out the repairs are delayed even longer, then I just wouldn't get another rental once Progressive, my insurance, takes over, which that's totally fine. I'm fine not having a rental because I guarantee I can just Uber the couple places that I need to go. There's a couple places I can walk. And if worst case scenario, I have some friends who I guarantee would let me use a car for a day or two because, you know, I barely drive. I really almost never drive. I think in the month and a half that I've had that car, I've maybe put 200 miles on it, and that's a lot for how much I could have put on if I wasn't going to car meets and stuff like that. So that's not necessarily what I'm worried about. What I am worried about is the amount that goes over the 30K, because I literally have no idea what this cost is. And if it is, let's say, like $3,000, then there's a potential that it puts it above the limit by $1,000 or $1,500, which my insurance won't cover because I don't have rental coverage. I know that might sound stupid. I probably should have rental coverage, but I don't. And so going into this situation, it's kind of murky. Now, I would totally understand this situation if Geico had done everything perfectly, if everything had been done in a timely manner, and the rental went over a tiny bit, and so I have to pay a little bit out of pocket. I would totally understand that. I still think that morally, Geico should pay for all the repairs regardless of the cost. They should pay for my rental regardless of the cost because, like I said, I'm innocent in all of this, but that's just how things work. It is what it is. I understand that I would likely have to pay. But here's the problem. Based on what the shop is saying, it would take probably 2, 3, maybe 4 days to receive all of the checks if they were issued and sent accordingly and promptly. It would take about a week to receive the parts after ordering them, and then it would take about a week to do the repairs, which means that you're looking at roughly let's round up and say 3 weeks. Let's say it should take 3 weeks all said and done. 3 weeks of a rental, that's pretty expensive, but I don't really see 3 weeks of a rental going above $2,000, $1,500 to $2,000. Might come close, but it really wouldn't be that much. However, a month and a half is a whole nother story. And the majority of that time, especially that extra time at the beginning, was purely caused by Geico. The insurance who is responsible for this accident, responsible for paying out on it, it was their fault. The person who was the original claims adjuster issued the check to the wrong address. The shop Houston was the address they were supposed to send it to. They put 2 P's instead of 2 T's for the address. Kinda at the shop Houston noticed it within the hour, told them to cancel it, so they canceled it before the check was even sent. And then they're like, oh yeah, we're just gonna resend it, and they never sent it. So for a month, over a month, I believe, my car was just sitting there collecting dust, doing nothing while I'm sitting in this rental car, all on Geico's fault. Because had they issued the check, and the supplementals came shortly after, had they issued the check on time, my car would have been done mid to slightly late May. It's already getting close to mid-June right now. So I'm not really sure. The question is, what sort of recourse, what sort of actions should I take here to potentially minimize the damage on myself? I shouldn't be paying for anything, because if everything was done properly, I would have my car back. It would be under the limit. There'd be no issues, and I'd be happier that way because I'd have my car back. I miss my car. But not everything was done the way it should be. So if there's any insight that anybody can provide on what I could do or should do, whether it's just general advice or whether you've actually worked with insurance or been in a similar situation and have concrete, actual evidence-based advice on what to do, you know, please consider posting a comment down below or DMing me on Instagram. Either way works. It's probably easier if you DM me on Instagram, but I'm fine if you guys just post a comment, because I do still get notifications, just not as easily read notifications on my phone. And so if you could, any advice you guys can offer on how I should handle the situation, because, you know, my insurance likely shouldn't have had to pay anything, and they, you know, there's still a possibility they won't, but I really want to go into this with as much knowledge and potential as possible in the worst case scenario where, you know, maybe the rental's even more than I'm expecting and I might have to fork over like $2 grand or something like that, out of pocket even. That's not my insurance covering $2 grand, that's literally out of my bank account because someone else hit my car and because Geico messed up on issuing the check. I'm not really sure the recourse that can be done here. Now, there is the possibility that I'm overestimating the potential cost of this rental and it doesn't go above the limit, and then it's not an issue. But I want to go into this with the best idea on how to handle it in the worst case scenario. So any advice you guys can offer, I would really sincerely appreciate it. As for updates on my car, basically because of that limit, because of the 28K versus the 30K, which those are not real numbers, by the way, so for the Instagram giveaway, don't think that's a hint. The difference between the two is correct, but the actual limit is different and the actual estimated repairs are different. But because they're nearing that 30K, Geico has kind of put a halt on things, been like, hey, we're taking a step back to see if it'll go over. The auto body shop's like, the car is apart, it's literally in pieces, we can tell you it's not gonna go over, but they're just being sticklers about it. So it's been a shitty situation, and as a result, not only have I not had my car for a lot longer than I should have, I also might have to foot the bill for this rental car, even though I shouldn't have had the rental car either. So it's kind of a shitty situation regardless. So any advice, I would appreciate it, guys. I'm hoping that once, I haven't heard any update on the last check arriving, but once that arrives, it should be about 2 weeks. So I'm hoping that maybe 2 weeks from sometime very soon, I should be getting my car back. And they have been able to order some of the parts, so it might actually be less than 2 weeks, but we'll see how that goes. So that's about it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to comment, rate, and subscribe, and as always, have a nice day.